It's the Midnight Trucking Radio Network. Eric Harley here, and we are at Mid-America Trucking Show 2010, Louisville, Kentucky. Joining us right now from Detroit Diesel Corporation is Vic Malash. Vic, how are you?
I'm doing just great.
Hey, welcome to the program. Let's talk about speccing the powertrain, the driveline. We want to do this properly. First, explain why that's so important.
Well, it's important because every engine manufacturer has a so-called sweet spot for fuel economy that you want to basically be operating for the most time possible over the road in that sweet spot to get your best fuel economy.
Right. Now, what has changed in the past few years as far as the science, the details about speccing?
Speccing has become more important as emission standards have gotten more stringent.
Right.
Basically, how we go about calibrating the engine and the way we design the fuel map to meet the emissions, the fuel economy sweet spot has actually been shrinking over the years.
Right.
So it's a lot more difficult to get the right mix and match of driveline components so that you spend the optimal amount of time in that sweet spot.
Yeah. Now, okay, there are a couple of concerns when a driver steps up as far as speccing is concerned. Fuel economy, of course, and then performance. So are there any general rules here, any specifics that they need to follow when speccing for performance versus fuel efficiency?
The one thing to understand about speccing a vehicle is there's normally most fleets out there have an understanding of what type of tires they're going to run.
Right.
What type of transmissions their drivers like to operate.
Yeah.
That really only leaves us the engine with the rating and the torque curve, and then the axle ratio.
Right.
To kind of get the engine RPMs where we want them.
Yeah.
So when we pick an axle ratio, we normally have a higher RPM where we'll gear it for more performance, or a lower speed where we'll go for fuel economy. And that's generally one axle ratio apart.
Sure.
In those particular cases. If, for example, a 342 with a 10-speed overdrive transmission, 65 miles an hour, we may spec a 342 for fuel economy, but we may go with a 358 with a little higher engine RPM for that guy looking for the performance.
Yeah. What is it that Detroit Diesel does for the end user here to ensure that they're getting the most optimized driveline for their application? I mean, it seems like every day there's a new application for trucks out there, and that we have different demands out there. So what is it that Detroit Diesel is doing?
That's a good question because there are so many specialized applications nowadays. We've developed a software that's called Spec Manager. All our dealers and distributors use the software. We use it as a what if tool, a plug and play software, if you will. We can basically build the unit, the truck drivetrain combination in the computer first and run simulations and predict the performance and the fuel economy for the user before he even orders his vehicle.
Wow. It's interesting the age that we live in today, because it's the trucks of today are nothing like what they were, just a decade ago. It's just amazing the technology that goes in to the trucking industry.
Let alone the amount of engine parameters that are customizable now today. We can program in progressive shift schedules.
Right.
We're working with the electronic, the AMT transmission manufacturers to customize shift schedules specifically for our engines.
Wow.
So there's a lot going on the electronic side of things as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What other tools are there out there for the drivers to consider to use?
For fleet managers, specifically working with drivers, our electronic engines, we rely a lot on DDEC reports, which is an electronic report that comes out of the engine.
Right.
We can basically check to make sure that the driver's optimized as far as the way he's operating the vehicle.
Sure.
We're looking at top gear time, the amount of cruise time that's used. We can check idle time, and those types of things. And a lot of fleets out there are using that on the back end to help their drivers drive in a more fuel-efficient manner.
Yeah, and I know that Detroit Diesel has led the pack as far as technician training and everything is concerned. But certainly there's training on the other side of it, and that is for the end user. As we get all this information, it's implementing this information into kind of a new style of driving, learning exactly what's going on as far as the operator of that engine is concerned.
Absolutely, absolutely. The fleets out there are spending a lot of time up front to ensure that they have the most fuel-efficient spec
Yeah.
when they go to order a new tractor. But up to 35% of the fuel economy comes out of the driver. So the driver is a huge piece of that.
Wow, wow. Interesting stuff. Great to have you here, Vic Meloche. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right.